7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, Eldad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the league ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 59 of the third season of 32 Kings Road. And in the spirit of the upcoming holiday season, we are going to look at the teams that have absolutely no shot of making it to the postseason, and we're going to put together a nice wish list for them so that they can get better next year. But first, as a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That is Twitter, that's Facebook, that is Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Please subscribe to and rate and share our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. Let's get the show going. Kev, you'll be out here next week, but for right now, what you sipping on, brother?
I'm sipping on straight water for that exact reason. Because in our pre-show conversation, when I come out there next week, it'll be on and popping. So I'm definitely excited to come out to the wonderfully expensive city of Los Angeles. Yeah, irrigation system is trash. You can't drink out of the faucet, but it's not 34 degrees there. So let's do it.
Okay, Christopher Nance. Junior Blue, what you sipping on, baby?
I don't have nothing to drink today. I don't know, coming from court, I guess.
Let's be clear. You were performing your civic duty. You're not a miscreant.
Exactly. Reggie McKenzie.
Snip.
You took a team with no talent, bad cap situation, to, in 4 years, having a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Can't nobody blame you for this shit right here. And that's what I'm sipping on.
All right, well, we'll stay with football. I'm sipping on a little Bullet bourbon. Shout out to Bullet. Guys, it's the middle of December, and the Browns of Cleveland have a shot at making the playoffs. Listen here. All they have to do is win out.
All they have to do.
Well, I'm saying they play whoever they play. They need to win out. Baltimore is one of the teams they play. Speaking of Baltimore needs to lose just once, and that would be the Chargers. We do them a solid. And then obviously they lose to Cleveland in the season. And Pittsburgh has to lose twice. And Pittsburgh has the Patriots, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And they got to go to the Saints. All I'm saying is it's the middle of December and it's possible. That's what I'm sipping on. Dad, what you sipping on?
Well, we not going to skip me.
Well, you haven't been here in like 6 weeks, so I just got used to going right to the end. Redo, what you sipping on, sir?
In honor of Game of Thrones coming back on for its last season in April, it's been since 2006 that winter has been coming. And all I got to say is winter is here, bitch, bear down.
Feeling myself.
He went Game of Thrones. First of all, he went, you're not going to forget about me. Game of Thrones, bear down.
Winter is coming. Winter
Dad.
is here.
What you sipping on, Dad?
He's sipping on bear down.
Absolutely not. I'm sipping on absolutely nothing as well because of, just every week with you guys. it's really hard when you have your own bar.
That sounded like a confession.
And Kev is coming out here, so you know the Funky Monkeys is coming.
Yeah, you should have seen Kenya.
He was wild, but not the way you think. Anyway, what I'm sipping on is this past Saturday, HBO had a boxing card consisting of Clarissa Shields versus Famke Hermans, Juan Francisco Estrada versus Victor Mendez, and Cecilia Bracas versus Magzak Lopez. Do any of these names ring a bell?
Clarissa Shields.
Kinda. Right. I mean, that's just because you're abnormal. But the reason why I asked that question is that this was an important card because this was the very last card that was going to be shown on HBO Boxing that would be broadcasted on HBO World Championship Boxing. That same night on ESPN, the pound-for-pound king Vasily Lomachenko was displaying devastating bodywork on ESPN at the same time, and that's the card that they matched up against that for their last hurrah. So we'll get there's two parts of this conversation I want to have. We'll get into this part later, but I remember HBO for having all the big fights, the best production, and paying the pay-per-views and everyone coming over for fight parties. The last 40 years they've done this. So how the fuck did we get here? And what was their downfall?
First of all, why do you hate women?
You are the worst human. Did not say anything like that. You should be in the media. You should give this media thing a try. Jeez, can someone else step up, please?
Well, the simple answer, the easy answer is that it's the money, B. They cut the budget. They have been slowly cutting down the budget for the last 3 years over at HBO, and this is an end that they announced was coming. That anybody with half of a brain could see coming. I think it started, if you want to pinpoint a seminal moment, I think when Floyd left and went to Showtime. I think that was the beginning of the end for HBO boxing and really for sports period with HBO. And me personally, as we talked about it this weekend as we were watching the card. Thank you. Look, do you hate women? I think there's a bigger issue on the horizon with cable programming, period. And I think, the rise of streaming services, streaming companies, I think that is just going to serve as the demise of that. And I think this is just sort of the first step. But it's definitely sad that the closing, I will say this, the card was trash, but the last little, whatever you want to call montage was beautiful.
That was dope.
And it really spoke to, the brilliance and the legacy that is HBO boxing.
See, I want to say that it was bad timing, meaning like this was the date they knew it was going to end, and there was no good fights for that date. I'm going to give them that benefit of the doubt because this shit was horrible.
I mean, they could have done it to Danny Jacobs.
It didn't have to be this date. That's the thing.
Right. I mean, they had a great fight recently.
I think they just buried it.
They were ready to go. Yeah, frankly, they were ready to go. Again,
you could be ready to go and still go out like champs.
I just don't know how some of these companies who have been in it for 40 years don't think to get ahead of the curve, like with streaming. Right. I mean, if 5 years ago HBO had a thought about streaming, they'd probably still be doing boxing today.
Yeah, I also think that this whole, where, HBO was Bob Arum and Showtime was with the Al Heyman. I think that
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, when the cable networks decided to get into the business of the politics of boxing,
that's where
instead of just focusing on producing good matches, I think they kind of backed themselves into this corner as well.
Well, not only that, like you said, certain promoters aligning themselves with networks, creating that political atmosphere, but also I think the unwarranted pay-per-view fights with Floyd, where everything just became a circus, and now, okay, I have to pay every time I want to see this guy, and that's how they were getting their money. But like fans would get turned off from that. Like, that's when you start having more fight parties where, okay, I'm going to spend the money. Everybody's going to come over and pitch in. Before it wasn't. I mean, the last fight with Wilder was $75.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like before that shit used to be $40, $50, or somebody had the black box in the hood and everybody could watch it, or it was just on regular TV. But I think it's a variety of different things. I agree with the politics. I think people don't want to pay to see boring ass fights because Floyd was a boring boxer, and he's the biggest star. So how can your biggest star?
They paid just to see if he would lose because they hated him so much.
But that wasn't enough,
right?
I mean, yeah, Kev.
I would just say from a business standpoint, and kind of to the point that Les was making, it makes sense for HBO to kind of step out of this and for other platforms to come in, because people don't subscribe to HBO for boxing. I mean, like they go to HBO for the original content, like the point Omar made about they got Thrones, they got Insecure, they got so many other things that people really go to HBO for. And just for me being a normal fan of boxing, like I tune in for the event, I can admit it is one of those things. It's like it's sad to see an era like this come to an end when it's one of those things that we had growing up that now technology is kind of put into a capsule, like how the old Nickelodeon used to be, or like the Republican Party. Like it's one of those things that we remember for what it was 10, 15 years down the line. But it's sad to see.
Here's the real conundrum. It's $75 because you have the advent of piracy. So there are a lot of people who don't pay. So you up your price so you cover that. But the problem is the advent of streaming is making piracy more prevalent instead of less prevalent because of all this exclusive content. People don't want to just spend $10 a month because just to get this, to get one fight a year, I got to spend $10 a month. The one fight I'm going to want to see. Right. So that makes streaming more prevalent. Yeah. Right. So it's eating itself.
Yeah. DAZN is giving you 1 free month if you sign up now, and I think you get Canelo's next fight, which is going to be some bullshit.
Rocky.
But they're grabbing, at least with DAZN though, they're grabbing fighters from different camps, because if you really think about it, that's actually a bad business model as a channel to align yourself with just one brand, because to your point about bad boxing matches, well, unless you are a stable that has a ton of fighters, you're bound to have bad fights, and then it makes it hard
the only way DAZN makes sense is to do the ESPN Plus model.
Again, but ESPN is going to be in a tricky situation with Terrence Crawford, because there aren't many people for Terrence to fight. No. So just having that, I just think that business model,
ESPN is going to add different content.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just talking about specific to boxing. DAZN is going to do the same thing. They're building a relationship with MLB. They're going to have streaming with Major League Baseball, as well as I think soccer is the other one. Yeah. So they're going to add other things to it. But I just think this idea of a network or a channel just aligning with one camp, which DAZN isn't doing, to be clear, I think that makes more sense.
Kev, real quick before we move to the next question.
Well, I would just say, in conjunction with Kenyon said, like, what elements can these new platforms take that HBO had set up for boxing? Like, I was a big fan of the 24/7 thing. Like, I would watch those more than I would watch the fight. And I also think that, what do you guys think of their approach towards, like, the NBA puts their individual players on the forefront, like they drive the league? Like, do you think that boxing should look towards how they promote fighters when they don't have an upcoming fight? Like, it's a 24/7 365 like coverage in terms of these guys, instead of the week or 2 weeks before that fight's up.
I think the only problem with that is the way that an individual sport works. Like, you have a boxer who trains hard for 6 weeks and like ridiculously hard, and they have a grueling task.
They ignorant. You don't want to see them when they ain't fighting.
I mean, Floyd was very entertaining, but I don't think you can sustain it because everyone isn't charismatic.
Well, I think even simpler than that is the guys don't fight frequently enough.
Right.
Omar and I were talking, last night. It looks like what DAZN is trying to do specifically is go after that middleweight division. They're getting Charlo. Then they already have Demetrius Andrade. They've got Canelo. So if they can lock in the middleweight Charlo, now you can have a middleweight sort of situation. Right. And then they're going after Mikey Garcia.
And don't they have Cancer Beater?
And exactly,
Yeah,
Daniel
yes,
Jacobs,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
got to force him there with the middleweight. Then you get Mikey Garcia, who is a promotional free agent, so he can
anywhere.
fight anyone between 135 and 147.
Right.
I think you've got to be
shouldn't.
you've got to be right. You've got to be strategic about how you sort of move things along, so that you can produce better fights, and then it makes that sort of in between fight content more interesting.
All right. So real quick around the room. What was your most memorable moment of HBO boxing? Because they have so many.
Oh, that's hard. Off the dome, I would say probably Cotto Margarito 1.
Less.
I'm gonna say Shane Mosley, De La Hoya.
1.
Yeah.
Damn.
Dead air's not good, Omar.
Shit, man.
Yeah, you should have put that on the pre-show.
I mean, you got the Thriller of Manila, Rumble in the Jungle,
Yeah.
Hagler Hearns.
But I'm
Taylor
trying to think of
Chavez.
stuff like I was
Yeah.
aware that was happening at the time, you know.
Taylor Chavez is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be mine.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
Go ahead.
I say, y'all know I'm here for the circus. So when they let Roy Jones Jr. have his, y'all must have forgot me for the fight. And then they let R. Kelly sing his own version of the national anthem before he had his shots. Listen, you can't beat that, bro. You can't beat it.
Kelly.
Yeah. Well, one last quote before we move on. Larry Merchant said, "Once upon a time, we were a promising kid, then a challenger, then a champion, a great champion, a longtime champion, and then a has-been who finally retired. So long, champ." He's talking about HBO. They got out when they needed to fucking get out.
Someone said they waited a little too long with that last call.
All right. So for our moments in Head Egg, we're not really going to go into history. We're just going to go into the holidays. And we're going to look at all of the teams that have no shot of making the playoffs. And we're going to go around different teams. And we're going to put our wish list of 3 things that these teams should be asking for so that they can be better next year. Now, there are a couple of disclaimers here. Number one, we're not going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've talked about them enough. We're all clear on what it is that they need to do. Watch this. Do they need a new quarterback, guys?
Yes, sir.
End of story. So, with that being
No,
said,
I'm just playing.
with that being said,
Been around enough for y'all to know.
leave it up, Les.
Leave it at that.
Leave it at that. We've got the Atlanta Falcons, 4-9, NFC South, 2 years removed from being this close to winning the Super Bowl to now they've got some things that they need to address. Junior Blue, what should be on their holiday wish list?
A Malibu Rehab Center South
Wow.
or a new OC. I'm gonna go with the new OC though.
Woo.
That's number one for me.
Are you saying that Sark needs to get back off the wagon and then put the rehab center down
See,
there?
there you go.
Okay.
Another thing they need is a new medical staff. I mean, Devontae Freeman, Austin Hooper have been out. Ricardo Allen, Keanu O'Neal, Adam Levitri, all out for the season. Deion Jones missed the majority of the season. I mean, that was most of their secondary. The heart of their defense, Deion Jones was out most of the season. They were a high-flying team without Sark, and their defense did enough.
Yeah.
But with missing those players, missing your secondary, and Deion Jones, your middle linebacker who flew all over the place, it made it tough. They couldn't stop anybody. Third, and probably most important, they need to go see The Wizard of Oz. Because since they were up 28-3, they have shown no heart.
Ooh.
Period, in the last 2 seasons.
Wow. Is that a coaching thing, Junior Blue?
That's funny, isn't it, Kev?
I'm thinking it partially is. I'm thinking it's a hangover. Then I think because the first season I feel like it was a hangover in missing Shanahan, and then you carry that same problem to the next season.
Yeah.
Even though Julio Jones is getting more touchdowns this season, the offense just doesn't run smooth. You miss out on your running back. Your Freeman's been hurt most of the season. He's out for the season. Well, he might come back week 16.
I think he was getting
He's
his
out for
spot
the
took
season.
before he got hurt.
But still, that he still was a weapon for them. No matter what, he was a weapon. I mean, they lost Taylor Gabriel. I mean, that was another weapon that Sark did not know how to use. So, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of stuff that just went wrong with a team that has a lot of talent.
Okay. I have the Cincinnati Bengals, who are at 5-8. It was interesting because I think we talked about it last week, Kev. They started out 4-1, and we were all like, "Yo, the Bengals are to be reckoned with," and they have gone 1-7. So on their wish list, 3 things. Number 1, they've got about 50 projected to have around $50 million in cap space in the offseason. They need a tight end. Not only do they need a tight end because Tyler Eifert is hurt every year, but he's a free agent. Also, Tyler Kroft is also a free agent. Delaney Walker is going to be out there. He's somebody to get as a tight end, get him in there. They have 2 linemen, guard and their right tackle that are free agents. Dwayne Brown of Seattle, I would go and I would get him. And then I would re-sign Michael Johnson. So I would use my free agency money to get an impact tight end, a plug-in tackle, and then also to re-sign defensive lineman Michael Johnson. Then go ahead, number 2, go ahead and hire Hugh as the coach with a caveat. Go get Rex Ryan as the defensive coordinator. And then finally, thirdly, draft for defense. They started out 4-1. They're not far away. They can't spend a lot of money in free agency because in 2020, A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd, their 2 best receivers, are going to be unrestricted free agents.
2 best players.
So exactly. So you're going to need to roll the money over to sign them in 2020. But I think with Delaney Walker, Dwayne Brown, Michael Johnson, they can get those deals done. Go ahead and hire Hugh because he has the rapport with Andy Dalton. But go get Rex Ryan for that defense because really what happened for them this season was that the defense fell off. And when the defense fell off, then the injuries came on offense. They went 1-7. Yeah, Kev.
I definitely feel you on that about Rex. I did hear from an inside source that he no longer wants to coach. He's comfortable in the booth. But I think of all the coordinators that have been out there, guys that have been in the booth, he deserves a job or should get a shot, especially with the NFL going in an offensive direction. That Rex could definitely put his imprint on this game. But you sold on Andy Dalton? He's the guy?
He's not, but his contract doesn't come up till 2021. I did put it here. I said, you draft for defense if you grab Rex, but then go get a quarterback to push Andy Dalton. No, we know Andy Dalton's not the answer, but this doesn't look to be a strong quarterback draft, and they're not going to have a necessarily high pick. So, you roll with Andy Dalton, see what happens in 2021. The New York Football Giants, they're 5-8. Listen, we thought they were headed for 2-10 or 2-14. They're at 5-8. They got an outside shot at 8-8. We know they're not going to make the playoffs, but what should be on their wish list?
$23 million. That's Eli's cap hit.
Oh.
Yeah. But guess what his dead number is? $7 million. Cut that bitch.
Snip, snip. So what you're saying is the number 1 present should be a pair of scissors.
A pair of gold lace scissors.
That's funny.
Platinum, and it's still cheaper than that $23 million. They just need to trim a little fat. It's easy. They have offensive cornerstones already set in one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the league. A great in-betweener, tight end in Ingram, and probably for the next decade going to be fighting for or will be the best running back in the league. But they need to get rid of Eli. They need to either cut or trade Eli, Vernon, and Jenkins. Those 3 got to go.
Olivier Vernon.
And Jenkins.
Okay.
So you either figure out a way to get those off your books, because they already starting off 19th in the league in cap space. So you can once you get that $23 million off the books, your cap jumps up a lot anyway. So one thing they need to do is do 2 things. Two things they need to do is find a way to sign an offensive line, get some offensive line help in free agency, and draft the offensive line. They need 2 starters on the O-line. If they can sign one and draft one, and they have 2 top picks in 100, 2 top 100 picks in the draft. You got to at least give one of those up and try and get Bridgewater. You can get Bridgewater over here. You figure.
So Teddy Bridgewater is the answer.
Teddy Bridgewater, and then you draft a quarterback.
Okay.
And if Teddy can hold on to it, he holds on to it. They're not far. They just need. I mean, personally, I would fire the coach if you're gonna bring in a new quarterback. But they just hired him, so they're not gonna fire him.
No, they're not gonna do that. Not after the stash.
Yeah.
Dad, you've got the San Francisco 49ers 3-10. I think a lot of folks, a lot of pundits had high hopes for them coming into the season.
Not me.
And then Jimmy decided he wanted to go scrambling, and he didn't get out of bounds.
Non-contact injury.
All right, 3-10. What's still on the wish list?
Well, first, what they need to do is ask for a redo for last week for beating the Broncos. What the fuck were they thinking?
But you know what? Them,
all of
the
them.
Raiders,
Yeah.
they all won.
Yeah, they all won. But no, seriously, I think they need the Falcons to beat the Cardinals. The reason why that is because right now it's tiebreaker for the number one pick.
Uh-huh.
So, and everything off of that, it's worst record if they're tied. Then it's strength of schedule. Then it's conference record. Then the division. Then it's a coin flip, and you don't want to. You want to get that number one pick. And this trickles down to one of their biggest needs they need to address, which is D-line from the pass rusher position. If they get that number one pick, it's Nick Bosa. That fixes,
solves everything.
That solves it. Right. So then third,
Genetics.
Genetics is a motherfucker. Yeah. The Niners receiving core this season so far has combined for 1,600 yards, just their receivers. The Ravens, who haven't passed the ball in 4 games, have 1,900 yards. Julio Jones has 1,400 yards by himself. So they need to get a wide receiver.
And
number one.
Kittle has 1,600 of those 1,900 yards.
No. That's excluding.
Oh,
Kittle.
that's excluding.
He
Kittle.
didn't factor in Kittle.
I didn't factor in tight ends, running backs, or any of that.
So they need a number one
They
receiver.
need a receiver.
Which is a staple of Shanahan's offense. The number one receivers in Shanahan's offenses usually eat, but he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't have a number one quarterback either.
Uh-oh. Speak on it. All right. Buffalo Bills, Kev, 4-9. The McDermotts, man, they're fighting in there. And before you give me your wish list, I'll just kick this to you. Did they find their franchise quarterback?
I think so. He's got some things he needs to work on, obviously, which is what comes in at number one on the Bills Santa's wish list is that they need Allen's arm to catch up with his legs because he's a running motherfucker. He just can't throw that ball downfield. And trust me, from a guy who roots for a team with a quarterback who can run his ass off and can't throw downfield, it can only get you but so far. But he's definitely shown that he has mobility in the pocket. He has the instinct as a rookie. You can see he finds his way, but they have to develop a passing attack for him. Otherwise, it's a wash. Second on the list I have is that they should hope that their GM, Brandon Beane, was joking when he said that he wants to bring LaShawn McCoy back next year. Listen, Shady's good. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think they should look to trade him while his stock is relatively high and before that indictment gets mailed to him because it's coming. It's definitely coming. And last but not least, I think this is the only realistic thing that the Bills can hope for, and it's that the Patriots win the Super Bowl this season because hopefully that means that Belichick and Brady retire, and then they don't have to compete against them anymore because while them two are still alive and kicking and playing in the AFC East, the Bills don't have a shot.
All right. Well, before we get into our second set of teams, let's get into some football hot topics. First of all, we've got Mr. Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals, who this weekend passed a record that was held by Jerry Rice. I never thought that I would ever say that about a receiver. The record that he passed this weekend is the most receptions by a receiver with one team. Jerry Rice had the record, I don't even know. It was like 1,400 catches for the 49ers, 1,400 or 1,500 catches, and Larry Fitzgerald passed him. The question I have for you guys, though, and I want you to really think about this, is where does Larry Fitzgerald end up in the pantheon or in the ranking of the greatest receivers of all time? And I will start with you, Kev.
I hate you, Kenyon. That's tough. And I've been thinking about this all weekend, is that I put Fitz top 5. In no particular order, but I got Jerry, I got him, T.O., Randy, and then I was thinking, well, is it Isaac Bruce or Steve Large? Who's that fifth guy? I definitely put Fitz over whoever would be there, but the knock on him is that you compare him to his contemporaries. I give him credit that he played all of these years with that one team, but then you knock him compared to his contemporaries because he hasn't played in enough relevant games because he's been with the Cardinals. He's only played in, I think, 5 winning seasons for the time that he's been with them. So I put Fitz top 5. I'm struggling to determine if I put him over T.O. or not because he has the body of work. He has the numbers. He just doesn't have the guy to throw him the ball.
I disagree with that T.O. thing. I think he's somewhere definitely in the top 10.
Yeah.
I think you give him kudos for never having a quarterback to get him to rock. But it's a tough list. The NFC championship game he had versus the Eagles when they went with Funky Kurt. He was absolutely ridiculous. He could take over a game. But those are some big names up there.
Okay, Redo.
I just think it's unfortunate that his career has been done a disservice because of where he's played. Because I don't think we can really know. We know the talent is unmistakable, and I think if he was in a different place where he had a quarterback his whole career, like a Jerry Rice, like a T.O. didn't have quarterbacks everywhere, so
he had Steve Young for a huge
he did. But
so with that being said, where are you putting him?
And that's where my issue is because it's like the talent it's top 5 talent, easy,
right?
And the production is what?
Thank you.
I've never thought of him being better than T.O. or Jerry Rice.
Here's a question because here someone on the live feed, Keely Williams said that he who must not be named would be 5th, but he played with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
His whole
career. Come on, so listen. I thought
Harvin Marison is who we're talking about. Harvin Marison.
I thought about this.
If Larry was in Indianapolis his whole career, oh my God.
Okay,
right?
So I thought,
and there would be one more human walking this planet.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe there'd be 10 less.
Exactly. Yes.
Or maybe there'd be 10 less.
Because Philly is real.
Yeah. Listen, I thought about this all day, and come on, man. This guy is top 3 in yards. He's gonna be number 2.
Is he number 3 in yards?
Yes.
Well,
he's number 2 in yards.
He's second in yards.
He's
third in receptions.
He's second in yards, third in receptions. He's gonna finish 2 in receptions. He's 8th in touchdowns, which the touchdown number is the reflection of playing with whack-ass quarterbacks.
Josh McNown.
Thank you.
Josh McNown for 23 games, Matt Leinart for 26, John Skelton for 20 games, Kevin Cobb for 15, Drew Stanton for 24, and Josh Rosen.
My point.
Josh Rosen until he's in the grave.
I'm saying he's number 2 all time.
Number 2?
Him over T.O.
I'm putting him number 2.
I can't put him over
all
Moss.
Time.
I can't put him over Moss.
I'm not
saying I agree with you, Ken, but I feel the way you ride.
I'm putting him number 2 because Omar. Because you just said it, Omar. We know that the talent is unmistakable.
Yeah, and I still think Jerry Rice and T.O. are better than him.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, but y'all can't tell me he's not top 5. With what he's accomplished with what's around him. And then you look at the list.
I wouldn't be mad to put him at 3.
If he has the quarterbacks that T.O. had.
Right.
He had the quarterback that Randy Moss had. He had the quarterback that Isaac Bruce.
Right.
Tony Gonzalez. Come on, man.
Nah.
Steve Smith. At least Steve Smith.
I don't know if he does, but he doesn't do. I can't say he does better than T.O. T.O. did what the hell he was fucking supposed to do. He's number 2 all time. He's supposed to.
No, what I'm saying is if he's in the same position, I'm not saying put him over T.O. What I'm saying is he put up these numbers better than all of these guys with more than half of the production at quarterback.
Call those quarterbacks again, please.
We had Kevin Cobb, Josh McNown, Matt Leinart, John Skelton, Drew Stanton, and Josh Rosen, and there was a whole bunch of other ones that
Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner were are his two best quarterbacks.
Yeah, he did eat a lot with those two.
He
ate a lot with everybody.
For this long.
Yeah.
It's a great
Let's put it up on Twitter.
Yeah, we can run that as a Twitter poll. Number 2, we had the Heisman Trophy presentation this weekend. Kyler Murray of Oklahoma, quarterback, won the Heisman in a very close contest with Double T out of Alabama.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never tried and I never will. Tua from Hawaii. First question, did they get it right? Did the Heisman voters get it right?
I think they did.
Okay.
I think you have to take in consideration what happened in championship weekend.
Yep.
I think you also have to take a look at the fact that Murray's defense is ranked 96 in the country, and Tua's is ranked 4th. Tua threw less than 10 passes in the fourth quarter. So you can make the argument that the overall team allowed him to get those wins and those stats, and Murray had to do a little bit more. So I think you can argue that. And also, which I'd never ever want to do, if you use the Omar test, if you put Kyler Murray on Alabama, then what happens?
I'm just saying.
I think the same thing happens, frankly. I think the only difference really from a statistics perspective between the two is that Kyler Murray ran for almost 1,000 yards. Kyler Murray, ran for almost 1,000 yards. Tua didn't need to do that, and they didn't put him at position. I mean,
And he's going to play baseball, right?
Yeah.
he is gonna. Well, Omar's just okay. He's just jumping around. He is gonna play baseball. I was gonna ask before we got to the baseball point, but since we're there, is that still the right decision? Considering that he has won the Heisman, he right now is projected to be, if he went in the NFL draft, he's projected to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. The last Heisman Trophy winner, who was coached also by Lincoln Riley, went 1st overall, rose up in the draft combine workout process, and that was Baker Mayfield. Let's also keep in mind he was a 1st round pick of the Oakland A's, 9th overall, $4 million.
The starting bid for Bryce Harper right now is $300 million.
And he turned it down.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Hell yeah, he making the right decision.
Go get the money, but why not try to play both? Someone hasn't done it in a long time.
He did say that
he would much rather win the Heisman than win the World Series or something like that recently.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
That's because he was up for the Heisman.
But he's also a whole 5'6".
Yeah. I thought Tua was short. No.
Yeah, he's small. He is a small
he's
dude.
a small dude.
He knows better. He's doing the right thing.
Okay. Well, the other question I had, though, do we still care about the Heisman, Kevin? I mean, this year, this was the highest rated Heisman in 5 years from a television perspective, but it's coming off of 3 consecutive years of it being the lowest rating ever. And then, if any of you watch the telecast on Saturday night, usually they have like 30, 40 guys in the background. This year, it looked like a chorus of guys, and they didn't pick the best looking guys either. If you judge it by how Troy Smith looked like
Troy looked bad, bro.
He looked like he was doing dope deals. Charlie Ward looked like he got a monkey on his back.
Charlie looked sick.
Do we still care? Does it still hold the same sort of cachet, Kev?
Well, you may be asking the wrong person because Kyler is his name. He could walk in my living room right now, and I would not know who he was. And that's just for me. Thank you. That's just for me, really, as far as football goes. First off, the NCAA can go to hell, but I'm more of a professional. I prefer the professional level, and I think
the professional slave trade, not the amateur slave trade.
Hold on.
$1 million slaves.
Hold on. Let's get it right, because I don't want an angry poll. The NFL is indentured servitude.
Oh my God.
The NCAA is
Kevin,
slavery.
keep going. Keep going.
I'm just saying, give me the real. Anyway, my point is, we've seen many Heisman winners, of course, win the Heisman Trophy and be trash in the NFL, and then we forget who they are. So for me, personally, I don't. But if, he played well, credit to him. But if he ends up going to the NFL, then at that point, that's when I'm following. I want to see what he's made of.
Finally, in Hot Topics, defense wins championships, maybe? In the last 2 weeks, we've seen the Dallas Cowboys, who have a top 5 rated defense, absolutely demo the New Orleans Saints. Then this past Sunday, we saw the Baltimore Ravens give the Kansas City Chiefs everything that it could handle and then some with half a quarterback. And we saw on Sunday night the Chicago Bears absolutely stonewall the Los Angeles Rams.
Zero
So the question I have, I mean, in this season where all the records are broken, there's an offense. We are seeing teams that have elite defenses rise to the occasion. What does that say about this upcoming playoff season, Junior Blue?
I always think the playoffs, even if you have a good defense, a great unless it's great legendary defense, it's gonna come down to can you make a play at the end of the game. It always does. Will the Cowboys be able to do it? I don't know. Hey, is you always talk about December Joe, January Joe. Will he be able to do it? Will Mitch be able to do it? That's what it's going to come down to. So he's already answered. He's answered. So let's cross the Bears off.
But he don't have to.
It's going to come down to him having to make a play no matter what.
Hey, I didn't learn anything about these last couple of weeks because I've been saying for as long as y'all know me that football is a very simple sport. You can have all of those glitz and glamour of the fantasy points and all that offense from that Rams and Chiefs game, but as soon as it hits December, you have to be able to
6 points.
Stop the run and run the ball. And if you have an opportunity to do that, you just have to make a couple of plays.
Right.
And then you do have a chance. Dallas has both. They can do both.
Amari has 300-yard games.
Amari?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been able to make a couple plays. And
leave it to Omar to throw you off your point.
That's what he does. It's just what he
does.
He's saying stop the ball and run the ball, and then you bring up a wide receiver.
Same thing, man.
But that's also, the point, having to make a couple of plays, like Les said. The Bears, they're able to do that. Mitch has got to get better. We saw.
Mitch can run the ball though.
He can run the ball.
I'm keeping you. I'm staying. I got you.
We're on schedule.
Which means he can make a play.
And with the Ravens, with Lamar playing, they can do both. However, out of those three teams, there's only one quarterback that gets it done in the playoffs.
Man, let's get to these teams. The Arizona Cardinals are 3-10. Junior Blue, please. Give us their wish list.
A genie, so they can add 3 more wishes. Because they need a lot of help.
my God.
Hey, man, we on the same wavelength. Let's get to the next one.
Nah, they really need to pick a struggle. You can't be last in yards, last in passing yards, and second to last in rushing yards.
Struggle.
You got to figure out what you're good at. That's the first thing. Let's figure out what we're going to be as an offense.
Or what we ain't gonna be.
One or the other.
Less is more.
They're in a division with the Rams with Todd Gurley, Seattle Seahawks with their new
stable.
rushing, new rushing attack.
Right.
We don't exactly know what the 49ers are going to do, but we assume that their offense is going to be pretty good. I think during the draft, and they really need to go heavy defense. Because their offense needs a lot of work, so let's get something good right now. And what they need to hope is, the third thing is that Byron Leftwich turns into the next phenom OC. So he can at least put a unit out there that can score more than 13 points a game.
Redo has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-8. Another one of those teams where when the season started, we were kind of like, they're headed deep for the bottom, but they're fighting. They're 5-8. They gave New Orleans everything that they could handle this Sunday. What's on their holiday wish list, Redo?
Nitroglycerin. Blow that bitch up.
I knew where you were going with that.
So is 1, tro is 2, and glycerin is 3.
Nitroglycerin. They need a new QB. They need a new coach. They need a running back 1. They need O-line help. They need a pass rush. They need a new GM. They need new fucking uniforms because I am sick and tired of those motherfucking pewters. Them pewters are making the creamsicles look nice. They are the Titans of the NFC.
Omar is in rare form today.
They are the
6
Titans
weeks
of the
off.
NFC. Thank you.
Energized.
Holla at your boy. And I was in traffic for 2 hours.
That'll do it.
But they really are the Titans of the NFC, man. It's like, what are they?
All right, blow it up.
Fool's goal at the quarterback position.
Yeah. Do you believe? I've been telling the guys, Jameis Winston
You're going to get somebody fired.
And Amari Cooper.
Oh, you get paid,
I
though.
believe Jameis Winston
pay
and
him.
Amari Cooper are going to hoodwink their respective franchises over the
Tampa
summer.
Bay cannot give that man money. They do.
To be clear, they're in the same situation Jacksonville was in last offseason, where they could just pick up the option on Jameis and then let it play out again one more year. Is that what you're going to do, Kev?
He is not a leader of men.
I said it on Sunday. Him and Dirk Cutter, get the fuck out of here. The season's over.
He's still eating dubs.
I got the New York Jets 4-9. They've got $106 million in cap space coming up. Number one, I would ignore the press and I would retain Todd Bowles for 2020. He does have one more year. He was 10-6 his first year, 5-11 the following 2 years. They're 4-9 right now. Probably will finish 5-11 again. You got your quarterback. Here's the thing. Free agency, they have no running backs to speak of that are discernible. They can waive Isaiah Crowell for nothing. They've got all of their wide receivers of consequence are free agents. They got no tight ends. On defense, Leonard Williams, Trumaine Johnson, and Jamal Adams are their only significant players. And they got $106 million to spend.
So what you saying, the free agents is going to be a big nut.
That's what I'm saying. You need to go get Le'Veon. You already know what the Pats are going to do with Josh Gordon. The main reason why they traded for Josh Gordon was because they're going to assign a first or second round tender to him. Go ahead and give up that pick and go sign Josh Gordon and then go get one of either DeMarcus Lawrence, Jadeveon Clowney, CJ Mosley. Get one of those three players, spend the money, bring back Bowles. I think you may have something. Number two, well, that's it. That's upgrading the offense and the defense. But I think the biggest thing is bring Bowles back. They need continuity there. They got their quarterback. Bring back your OC/quarterback coach and Josh McCown because he's a free
I'd be
agent
surprised
and
if
run
they
it back.
bring back Bowles. Not that I actually agree with you. I'd just be surprised if it happens.
Yeah.
Kenyon, we've seen this before when they let Bunny Colvin run Amsterdam a day too long. What it turned into. Come on, man. Reel it on in.
Should have
Reel it
nailed
on
up
in.
them doors one day earlier.
Kev, you got Junior Blues Raiders 3-10. They are what we thought they were gonna be.
You're welcome, you guys. Actually.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. Thank you.
We're gonna get there, Les. You mentioned it to start the show. They need a GM. McKenzie's out the door.
They got a GM.
Yeah.
I've
$100
seen that
million.
Dave Rosano's name has been out there. The interim GM, Sean Herrick, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had to ever say his name ever before. Their names that are out there, but I think the Raider thing to do, man. Hey, Bruce Allen, let's run this thing back. I mean, that's how you take a franchise from being god awful to fucking awful, and I feel like that's the Raider thing to do. But jokes aside, though, I think they have a chance to really set themselves up with. I mean, that they're working from the ground up. So you get a GM in there that you believe in, it can draft, it can work with what Gruden's trying to do, and who knows. Second off, they need playmakers. I mean, thank you for what you guys did against the Steelers on Sunday. We appreciate it, but they should actually continue to lose games so they can get a better draft pick. Because with Mack and Cooper gone, they need to decide who's going to be the faces and the building blocks of this franchise. Like Kenyon said, offense and defense to build around Derek Carr. I think if the Ravens don't retain C.J. Mosley, Kenyon mentioned him, I think he's a good piece to go after, a good locker room guy, good media guy that you can put out on your field and really build your defense around. And third, and again, most likely, most important, is that they need to pray to Santa Claus that John Gruden is right. Because he's a $100 million man. They let go of the GM. They completely tore down the roster to the studs. The move to Vegas is coming up. And all this has to be worth it. And it starts with him, because if it's not, Les might piss on you.
Do we think Derek Carr is going to be there?
Well, listen, to piggyback on that, and we'll go to you, Junior
not
Blue,
New
with
York?
this. Since the second half of Game 5, Derek Carr has not thrown an interception.
I said that shit when you asked me. Y'all started laughing.
Listen, his completion percentage, the yards, he's on pace for career best in yards. His completion percentage is high.
So have
their
two
relationship
first rounders for him.
Have their relationship has the relationship twofold question, has the relationship turned a corner, and do you feel better about him going forward?
I still, when I watch the game, I still don't see them going down the field, which adds to the completion percentage being higher.
Ooh.
I mean,
Fair
they
question.
didn't go down the field to Amari Cooper. I mean, granted, they didn't have, like, Cowboys have 8 in the box, so it's single man coverage against the Eagles on the outside.
Right.
I think
That's a good point.
Yeah, you could. That's an easier way to go. We don't have that luxury, so he's played better. He hasn't made the dumb mistakes he was making before earlier in the season. I'm still not sold that he makes it to Vegas.
Lee Smith said they're speaking the same language now.
Okay. Lee Smith. That's because he caught a touchdown last week.
Right.
Dad, you've got the Detroit Lions.
You're Detroit Lions.
Yes, 5-8.
Say that again.
Far cry from 13-3.
5-8. No, 11-5.
11-5.
11-5. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
You did it to yourself. So as of today, they have the 10th pick in the draft.
Okay.
And the first mock draft came out the other day, and they are slotted to get Grady Williams from LSU, the DB. Greedy, yep. They have the 30th ranked pass defense in the league.
Ooh.
So maybe a corner helps that, but pass rusher might also help as well. And with that, like everyone else, they need some pass rush help because Ezekiel Ansah
It's not the answer.
He's not the answer. He stays hurt, and he's been limited. This draft is very, very heavy on the defensive side, specifically in the pass rusher. So they have a pick in each round this year. So there's depth out there. Third, they need to continue to build on the offensive line. They did start that. And with that, they have been able to finally maybe find a 1,000-yard rusher with Kerryon Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can lean on the run and not make Stafford have to be transcendent, then maybe that can prolong some things. I mean, they have a lot of things that they need to address. I mean, they lost their receivers.
They traded.
They lost, but still,
Right.
but like I think those are the three things they should start with.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. And it's a coach that, honestly, I never thought would ever appear on this segment. But Kevin, you're here to introduce somebody. Have at it.
I am. Now let me take us all back to the warm Sunday afternoon last week when the New England Patriots had a 5-point lead over the Miami Dolphins with just 7 seconds left in the game. Miami had the ball in their own 31-yard line and resorted to the old hook and ladder play, which started with Tannehill throwing a 15-yard pass to Kenny Stills. And Stills lateraled the ball to Devontae Parker, who then lateraled the ball to Kenyon Drake in what looked like another desperate attempt of a team to go nowhere in the final seconds. Now, I'm going to stop this story here because it was at this point that everyone watching the game knew that no matter how many times the Dolphins lateraled or pitched and threw the ball across the field, it meant nothing if Kenyon Drake couldn't outrun the Patriots' safety. So for those at home watching and to our followers overseas, real quick, the defensive responsibilities of the safety involve pass coverage in the middle of the field towards the sidelines. And according to Wikipedia's definition, safeties are the last line of defense. They are expected to be reliable tacklers. And many safeties rank among the hardest hitters in football. Think of the likes of Ronnie Lott, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Brian Dawkins, Sean Taylor, Rod Woodson. These are all men with speed, but more importantly, men of color. So back to our story. Kenyon Drake proceeded upfield with the ball, and not only did he not see a Hall of Fame safety in his sights, he didn't see a safety at all. Instead, he saw the 6'6", 270-pound Michelin man that is Rob Gronkowski, who ran a 4.68 40 time 8 years ago, standing right in front of Mr. Drake. So Gronk tripped over his own 2 feet while trailing after Kenyon Drake as Drake outran Gronkowski and the Pats for 55 yards into the end zone for the win. And here's where the problem starts. Bill Belichick said that Gronk was on the field to defend against, and I quote, the deep, long throw, the Hail Mary. But if you remember, Miami, like I said, had the ball at their own 31-yard line, which means they needed to go 69 yards to score a touchdown. And as much as Bill Belichick is heralded for his coaching, his ability to understand his opponent's personnel, he didn't realize that he was coaching against Ryan Tannehill, who in his longest touchdown pass of his career had thrown a pass that traveled just 54 yards in the air. So even if Tannehill did cock back with all his strength and might and throw the ball a whopping 54 yards, even if the Dolphins caught it, the Patriots will still have to cover and tackle the remaining 15 yards behind him. So with that bullshit explanation, it don't add up what Belichick said to me, y'all. And I think the great Bill should take this loss, his sorry excuse for playing Gronk instead of a real safety, Devin McCourty, and get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, because we ain't buying it.
Yes, sir.
Good Lord.
I enjoyed it.
And with that, let's get into our game picks for Week 15. First of all, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs this Thursday night at home hosting my Los Angeles Chargers. Kev, our picks leader, took a bit of a hit this week. He had a rough week. So Dev and myself are closing in. Les is right around the corner, and
I'm catching y'all.
Omar is at the bottom.
If you keep cheating.
Or if he starts cheating, he'll catch us. We've got the Chiefs and the Chargers. I will start with you, Red O. Who do you have?
Out of the Kansas City Chiefs and the soon-to-be San Antonio Chargers, I will take the Chiefs.
Okay, Dad.
This is a toss-up game for me. I picked the Chiefs, but only because of Eckler getting hurt and Gordon already being out, and the Chiefs are at home.
Les.
Chiefs.
Yeah,
Do it.
my
Do it, Kenyon. Do
listen,
it.
listen.
It's gonna be something else on the sheet.
I'm gonna. You're right. Well said. It might be something else on the sheet. I'm saying the Chargers barely. And what I said before the show was, I was like, the Chargers defensively aren't as good as the Ravens, but whatever the difference is in terms of the two defenses, offensively they can put the pressure on Kansas City that I think allows them to squeak it out, but I don't believe it. Kevin?
I'm wondering if the Ravens provided the blueprint to beat them, like you said. I don't know if Kansas City's healthy. They suffered some injuries in that game. I'll still go with the Chiefs, though.
Staying with you, Kevin, we've got a pretty interesting game here. I think this will tell us a lot about both teams. The Dallas Cowboys are visiting the Indianapolis Colts, who rebounded from that disappointing performance 2 weeks ago in Jacksonville to thump and stop the 9-game winning streak of the Houston Texans. Who do you have in that game, Kev?
I'm picking Dallas because I think they're a more physical team, and as well as Indy played last week, they do struggle against physical teams overall. So I think Dallas will take this one.
Junior Blue.
I have Dallas too. I mean, I think they're playing well. I mean, they're doing everything they have to do. That defense is showing out.
Interesting. Dad?
I have the boys at home, and Indy hasn't beat the Cowboys since 2002.
Wait a minute. Who do you have at home?
Aren't the Cowboys at home?
They are not.
Okay. Well,
you want me? Listen. Pause right there.
Okay,
I'll come back to you.
Yep.
Redo.
I got the Colts at home.
You got the Colts at home.
Mm-hmm. I want to see that Dallas D do it again.
Oh, you don't believe fat meat is greasy?
Hey, it could be vegetable.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with my answer. One because I think the defense is rolling and they can keep lucking them off the field, and I need them to win.
Okay. All right. There's a belief there. I am also taking the Colts at home. Zach Martin is nicked up, probably will not play. T.Y. Hilton's speed will be a difference maker in the game. He had almost 200 yards last week. And Frank White is very familiar with that Cowboys defense. Then we've got the Pats going against the Steelers. The game is in Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger will play. By the way, Les, you guys need to upgrade your X-ray facilities.
That's why we try to get out there.
That ain't happening.
I'm taking the Pats to win because the Steelers couldn't beat the Pats with Le'Veon Bell, and they're damn sure not going to beat them without him.
Connor and Dale.
So I'm taking the Pats. Dev?
It's hard to believe that the Steelers would lose 4 games in a row, but it's even harder to believe that the Patriots will lose 2 in a row. So I'm taking the Patriots.
I like how you did that.
Ding, ding, ding.
The
Ding, ding,
Patriots are
ding.
8-2 versus the Steelers.
Yeah.
Well, Tom Brady is. all
Junior
time.
Blue?
Patriots.
Are we all on the Patriots, Kevin?
The Steelers haven't beaten them since 2011. Patriots.
Well, there we go.
Well,
I hate saying it too.
it just feels nasty out
I,
there.
Not this week. I don't.
Hey, I'm with you, Kev. Let's get into our gambling segment, All In with Ken. Ken, we're going to have a great week this week, right?
Yes, we are. If you didn't get the picks last week, don't worry about it. You didn't miss anything. I missed everything. Number one, we've got the Seattle Seahawks going against the San Francisco 49ers. Just pick the Seahawks to win. The Seahawks are rolling. 49ers got a surprise win against Denver. This will be a letdown game. Then we've got the Houston Texans going against the New York Jets on the road on a Saturday game. For those of you that don't know, this Thursday night game this week is the last Thursday night game. Now the NFL will go to Saturday games. So they're just going to find a new way to take up our lives. I like Houston to cover on the road. They're 6-point favorites. They'll win by more than 7 going against the New York Jets. The Houston's going somewhere. The Jets are not. And then finally, we've got the Los Angeles Rams coming off of the thrashing in Chicago going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Because of Minnesota's loss last night, there's teams hanging around. One of those teams is the Super Bowl champion Eagles. I like the over in that game. The Rams do miss Cooper Kupp. But they will be happy to see that Philadelphia secondary. And
What do we call them?
Boo-boo sex.
Yes.
We'll talk about boo-boo sex next week when Kevin's in studio. But I like the over. The total is 54. Again, you can run on the Rams. Josh Adams, big day. Play action opens up the play action for them to attack the Rams downfield. There'll be a lot of points in that game. So that's the over in LA. That's Houston to cover against the Jets. And that is Seattle to win straight up. Put $100 down. Thank the league ambassadors. This has been a fun show. Next week, Ambassador Chef Curry will be live in studio with us. That will be a lot of fun. That's about it.
I hope I don't have to sit on the outside next time when he get here, like I did last time.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll make sure that
we got enough.
Should be
we'll
good.
make sure
Hey,
that you're connected.
I want to shout out the Lawndale Cardinals going for the state championship.
Yes,
Y'all
sir.
got it this Saturday.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, Jalen.
Do
And
it.
shout out to my brother Akea Williams. We go back since the middle school days. LRA in the house. He was on the live thread saying everything that Omar suggested was bullshit. But thank you for tuning in, sir.
Hey, man, he ain't the only one.
All right, let's get out of here. Cheers, everybody.
Yes, sir.
All right.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on a tease with the streak for the cash. ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, Eldad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in.